Welcome back to More Moss to the People. I am Asa Nilsson and I am your host. Today I have a beautiful guest all the way from New Hampshire, United States of America, and her name is Wendy Wright. Welcome, Wendy. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
Good. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I met you. Again, another friend, a virtual friend that I have met on the Instagram pages through this gem of a gal that we both know, and her name is Stevie Callista from Farmhouse Moon, who I have had as a guest before on the More Moss podcast. And I found you through her, and I started following your page and listening to your beautiful words of wisdom. And I'm like, oh no, I got to have you on. I have to ask you if you wanted to be a guest, and you graciously accepted. So thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, I'm honored, and it's nice to be a guest for a change since I have a podcast as well.
Yes, I know. And we're going to talk about that, of course. I want to know all the things that I want to share, all your beautiful work that you're doing in the world. But let's first start with, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are in the world today?
All right. This one's a little challenging, but I'll do my best.
Okay.
Only because I feel like I am like a Renaissance woman. I've done a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested in a lot of different things, but right now, I'm sort of transitioning from farming into homesteading, scaling back a little bit. And I'm an intuitive astrologer. I read the Akashic records. I'm very interested in the priestess path. And I'm just always exploring the mysteries and sharing whatever intuitive knowledge comes through me. I really enjoy that.
Priestess path. What does that mean? I got to hear that. Tell me more. I haven't heard that one before. So tell me.
Well, okay. Before the Roman church came to be, there were not only priests, but also priestesses.
Mm-hmm.
And as religion became more male dominated, priestesses sort of transformed into the role of nuns.
Mm.
So it's an ancient practice of essentially being a vessel for the goddess to come through and for healing and wisdom. The oracles were priestesses, tantrikas, tantric practices. That's like a whole other rabbit hole. But they did a lot of things where they essentially were vessels for spirit.
Hmm. Gosh, how beautiful. I've never heard it called the priestess path. That was
Mhm.
nice. That was beautifully put. Okay, I know I already have a friend that I have to introduce to you, Tirza Schaefer. She's all about the goddesses also. I think you
Awesome.
guys would be great to meet one another. Yeah, so farming, tell me, I've never really had a farmer on before. So you live in New Hampshire and you said that you're moving from farming to homesteading. What kind of farming were you doing?
Vegetable farming. Yeah.
Mm.
So I started in my backyard with gardens in Texas and just kept scaling up. My husband and I moved to North Carolina. That wasn't quite a great fit for us, and it was our first property. And we ended up selling that, making enough to buy more land up here in New Hampshire. And this is more like our dream property. I think we'll be here for a while.
Oh,
And it's tucked away in the mountains, just kind of in a super rural area. And I love growing all different varieties of vegetables, especially like the really unusual ones and the heirloom ones. And
mm.
I like to save seeds for those.
Mm.
So, and I love to cook. That's like I'm literally chasing the carrot at the end of the stick.
Yeah. No, literally, figuratively, and literally.
Yes.
Yum. Oh, I love to eat. I love to cook. Oh, I would love to come and visit you. I'm so fascinated. I don't know how to grow anything. That to me is what my sister-in-law, she can grow anything. And she's like, oh, so you need to have a garden. I'm like, no, no, I can look at yours and really appreciate yours because it's so beautiful. I just don't want to tend to it.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
understand that. I mean, I'm scaling back because it's a lot of work, and I have other projects that want to be
Yeah.
born, want to grow through me. So just
That's right.
transitioning,
Yeah,
into
that's right.
different ways.
I love that. I have to, you are really into Mother Nature. And I have to read this quote that I found of yours. And I think it's just so beautiful. Um, that you are fascinated by mysteries, in love with Mother Nature, and I revel in the magic that is all of it. I I mean, obviously, if you were working with the land and you're living here in some valley of New Hampshire and working in with magical things, I mean, you are a magical wondress of what it is that you can connect with, and I want to talk about that a little bit, but I want to start with your life. You know,
Mhm.
the more moss to the people. I love to have conversations with people that have had maybe potentially tragic things happen to them, or have had sicknesses, illnesses, and they are still moving forward with their heads held high, even though it is hard, even though it is difficult. You said that you have had an epic life journey of betrayal, loss, and healing, which led me to remember who I am. And that is so beautiful. That is so beautifully put. And I would love it if you would talk a little bit about what kind of intense life trauma you have had, if you were willing to talk about it.
Sure, sure. So, in 2019, a couple of weeks before we actually made our way to New Hampshire, I lost my mother very tragically.
Mm,
She was actually killed by her twin brother who had mental illness.
mm,
And it was one of these experiences that literally sent my soul, like it just shattered it. And
mhm,
all these soul pieces went outside of my body because, just having something that wild come out of nowhere, and
mm.
it completely changes your reality. You
Of course.
realize, like, it's like pulling the rug out from under you, like, oh, what you thought was safe and secure, bam, gone.
Right. Oosh.
So, when I was in this state of sort of being outside of my body and everything, suddenly I could see why everything in my life had happened, why I got into farming, why I got into yoga, why I'd had health issues. They were all leading me and preparing me for this initiation that I was going to have to experience. And that's not to say everything is set in stone, but I got this view that made me see that it was in some sense, like that it was in the stars somehow, that it was a
Mm,
part of my path. And that helped me to accept it.
mm.
And I think that's sort of the first step in a scenario like that is the acceptance of it, right?
Sure.
Because it's
Yeah.
hard to accept. And so from that point on, I just really healed myself a lot through farming, through just
Mm,
getting my hands in the dirt, listening to podcasts. I started listening to podcasts of other people telling their stories of challenge
mm,
and how they overcame those challenges. And one of the things that I had made a post about what had happened to my mom on Facebook. It was maybe a couple of weeks after it had happened. And I was like, I know I have this light inside of me, and there's no way I'm going to let that light be snuffled out, because that would be a disservice to my mother and a
right.
disservice to myself.
Hmm.
And and so she was like my motivation to keep going in a way, like, because I had a really great relationship with her in a way that our love was really strong. And
Mm,
so I carried on, and suddenly my consciousness just started expanding rapidly. And I just knew I needed to learn astrology. I knew I needed to learn all these things. I started reading books, like old esoteric books, and somehow I understood them
mm,
without knowing how I could possibly understand them. And this led to like a transformational experience where I was in meditation on the winter solstice, and I I had a really mystical experience with these light beings who essentially helped me restore all of those soul pieces, and they restored my
mm,
intuition. And for about 3 days, I was just like, I felt like I was in the Akashic records. I felt like I had
mm,
access to all of this knowledge, and it was pretty wild. I kind of felt like I was like living in the Bible.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm so grateful my husband just was amused and
Oh,
didn't
he
think I
was.
was going crazy.
So you weren't unconscious during this time. You were in a meditative state, just like,
Yeah, I was in a meditative state. All of this stuff kind of like was restored to me. I felt like my crown chakra like blown open. Like it felt like the
mm,
top of my head was open
yeah.
and all of this information
Mm,
was funneling into my being. And I was remembering, like I could remember all of this stuff like about ancient Egypt and alchemy and all these things. And
mm,
so people often refer to this as like your gnosis, your soul knowing. And so
mm,
it was this gnosis that came back to me. And I was 3 days after that, I was walking around conscious and like I continued to have this sort of magical experience. And then Christmas came and I had to go see family and I came right back down to earth. In fact, I
reality
came
hit.
crashing back to earth. Like it was
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
It was hard because when you experience these really beautiful love-filled experiences and you come back to reality, it's a pretty big contrast, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah, but that's how life happens, I think, is in the contrast for us to recognize the contrast. And especially if you had just lost your mother so tragically, which is just hideous, and then you coming back to family, right? The
Mhm.
family after then now you get into their experiences of the same loss and how they are dealing with it and how they are reeling in it. Excuse me. So I can't really, I mean, of course I cannot imagine what you have gone through. I would have no idea. But the feeling of like the visual I could just see of your beautiful, the crown chakra being open and all this information funneling into you and just so much love. And I think it's poignant to mention that your podcast's name is Light Always Wins.
Mhm.
And that is exactly what it makes me. It brings me back to, this is the light coming into us, and light and love, right? Lack of fear, only love. The only two emotions are love and fear, still in my own mind, in my own thoughts. And then how then, for your sake, when you have this download and you start, all this defragmentation starts to fragment back together, to put like back into like a puzzle back into your soul, I mean, to a soul state. How do you work with that now in your life? Because you've seen a higher and better, the best way. How do you deal with that in your everyday?
Oh, it's so interesting because even though I've been through this experience, I'm obviously still human, and
Mm,
I laugh at my ego sometimes because my ego is trying to play catch up now with my
mm,
soul.
yeah. Huh.
So when I had this experience, it's like, yes, it was like a major healing, and it also was just a peak. It
Mm,
felt so intense and so enormous, and yet I still have only peaked at the mystery.
mm,
So, there was a period of time where I feel like I sort of had to be humbled a little bit because for a while I'm walking around thinking, "Oh, I know everything," right? Like,
I've seen it all.
yes. But
Mhm.
no, I'm still on a journey in a
Mm,
human body, and I feel like one of the reasons that I had that experience is, one,
mm,
to heal, and two, to share
yeah.
um the gifts that were given back to me, right? But it's still a learning process that I will always be going through. And so every day, I feel like on an everyday basis, I have a pretty regular spiritual practice where I touch base with spirit, I see what is for my highest good for the day, and I learn about what I'm interested in.
Mm,
I feel like there was a lot of putting pieces back together after this happened because um it was like I could see that everything was connected. So I
yeah.
began a puzzle piece and then I would
Mm,
go on the search for where does it fit.
yeah.
So it's been interesting for sure.
You I think that's so interesting about the separateness, like the idea of we're not separate, like the connectedness of everything. And to be able to see that, to be witness to such a little, like just a moment in time that, you know, where you can see so much, how, you know, and I've heard that people that have had near death experiences, or people that claim that they have passed away and come back, that they see that where everything is connected, that we are all connected. And right now, the I believe a part of a huge breakdown in society and our culture is that we feel that we are somehow separate from one another, or I got this on my own. I don't have to ask anybody for help. I can't. It's too much. It's embarrassing. It's shameful, whatever. But you said to me when we first had a conversation that the idea of choices, and that your mom, she still comes to you, you still have conversations with her. Just because she's not of this realm anymore does not mean that she is not with you. And she helped you to understand the importance of choosing yourself first.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that a little bit for you, what that means for you?
Sure. Sure. So what I had seen in my mother's case, and so many people's cases, is when how detrimental it can be to be giving from an empty cup.
Mm,
And I think there's a lot here too for how we always need to be on the path of discovering what it is we're not seeing.
mm,
Um, just turning within more, right?
mhm,
So that then we're actually resourced, and we're constantly alchemizing our shadow aspects, what we're not seeing, and then we're resourced to help other people. And that's not to say we're ever going to be perfect, and that's not to say that we're always going to have a full cup when we're needed.
mm,
But I had seen that, you know, I hate to look back and say, like, if she had done this or if she had done that, like, I don't wanna judge the whole situation, because it is what it is. But what I took away from it was that I needed to take care of myself.
mhm.
And, sometimes you see a lot of people who go out trying to heal the world, and they're really wounded.
Yeah,
And, and sometimes maybe they're not conscious of it,
yeah.
it is what it is. But
Mm,
I think the message for me was that I really needed to take care of myself and look deeper, and make an effort to consciously work on this stuff before I was trying to assist others,
mm,
or allowing myself to be drained,
mm, mm.
or
Oh,
even just,
yes.
self-sabotaging.
Oh, yes, I know. I can identify with all of that because that's what I've done for 55 years before I started getting into understanding the codependency and the control really behind wanting to fix, manage, and control everybody else's life. And oh, I'm helping them, I'm helping them, I'm helping them. When in fact, no, I'm not. I'm not. It's something I think that I can, which of course I cannot. People have to help themselves. And I still do not know where I heard this about filling our own cup. And the idea, it's like for a woman, I'm 56 years old now, and women typically, I don't have any children, but people who have had children, they have always served everybody else, taking care of the whole family. And then when you get to about when the kids start leaving for college or leaving home altogether, then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, who am I? Who am I now? Because I've been tending to everybody else and I don't even understand who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And this cup, the idea of the cup, which I heard, I cannot remember from where, but the cup was, our cup has to be completely full, like to the top, and then when it flows over to the saucer underneath, that's where we serve from, is the saucer, not
Mhm.
from the cup. The cup is
Yeah.
ours and only ours. And to me, it was the exact opposite. I was filling myself with whatever was left, like from the saucer, and then like everything else was this cup. And I'm like, who am I serving? I'm serving no one. I'm serving no one. And when you just said the word, it just popped out to me. You said we're getting resourced. And the word re and then sourced, becoming like going to source serving me serving source, being resourced, coming back to source. I was like, oh, that just popped out at me when you said the word. I was like, yes, coming back to source, spirit, God, nature, mother, whatever it is that you want to call whatever is higher than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It is so beautiful. And your work now, we were just talking about the fact that I'm like, what have you been doing today? You're like, oh, we're doing this. I've been writing stuff for my new Akashic records that you're doing, which I want to talk about. And you're writing an article for your friend's magazine. Talk about the stuff that you're doing for sharing your beautiful gifts in the world right now. I want to hear.
Yeah. So, okay. First thing, I have a podcast where I interview people about their awakening journeys, because after that experience I had that I just told you about, I was like, what was that? And so I went on like a little sleuth, like, okay, where are the clues? Like, who else has been through this, right? And now that podcast is I still ask people about that, but it's also transforming into talking about other spiritual topics, going a little deeper. I also am an intuitive astrologer, so I make a lot of videos on Instagram about the astrological transits, and I'm really interested in Sabian symbols, which are related to astrology. I'm really into writing, so I write for this magazine. I'm in the process of writing a book and an oracle deck. I mean, it's like,
oh my gosh, wow,
crazy. I feel like spirit gives me all these inspirations. Like,
yeah,
I love how you said resource. If you think about inspiration in spirit,
in spirits, that's right.
inspiration. So now I'm trying to seek the balance with all of this inspiration and find ways to structure my life so I can actually make it all happen. And for me, I think I have to like slow down a little bit and realize like the journey doesn't all have to happen like right now. Like you can
That's right.
spread some of these things out.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the magazine, I write about gardening and farming, and I write about it from like a philosophical, spiritual lens.
What's the name of the magazine?
Activate your telephone line to source.
I love that. Activate your telephone line to source. And that is your friend's magazine she's out of Spain, you said, right?
Yes, Deborah Lemaire, Lemaire Soul Crafts.
Okay, we'll tag all this in your show notes. And I'm gonna inflika in something in Swedish. I'm just gonna jump in here and show something. I pulled a tarot card and I got this one for you for today, which is so interesting because the 10 of Wands, like carrying all these. Oh my gosh, I got so much to do. I got so much. I wanna, but you know, it's not a negative, right? It's not. This is not like I hate my life. It's not. No, it's not that. This is. You've got. Oh, I just got chills. You have so many beautiful people around you. You have your spiritual guides. You got your mama. You got everybody around you guiding you right now and showing you how much you have to share, and the balance of the organization of it. Okay, it all sorts, right? I mean, we're led by what leads us, what opens up our heart the most, and that's where we go first, hopefully. But there's always other things too. And also remember, we don't have to do it all on our own, right? How can we incorporate the help and the love and the guidance of others? And this podcast of yours, interviewing people or talking to people that have had a similar experience to you. I mean, I can't imagine that. I mean, have you met people that have had similar experiences to you?
I have only met a couple, and their journeys have looked completely different from mine. So that's what's kind of funny and ironic about it as well, is that I wasn't finding people who could show me the exact same thing, because we're all unique.
Sure. Right. They can show you their version.
And every piece of the puzzle does help. It helps to relate with other people, right? And everybody has awesome lessons that they learn along their paths that they share,
For sure. So, hopefully, right? I mean, that's how we all learn. That's how we all grow, is through the story of somebody else, I think. I do anyway, right? Hope I know you do. So we're going to wrap it up now, but I want to ask you, we talked first about your no regrets with your tattoos, my Wonder Woman tattoos, your Wonder Woman tattoos. And if you were to now when you were, I think you said that you were 18 years old when you started getting your tattoos. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was 18.
Okay. And you said, look, this is forever. This is
Mhm.
forever. I'm not going to do anything and regret it. Is there now at this point in your life, at the age, you're 37 now, if I remember that you said that, at this point in your life, with all the things that you're doing and everything that you've experienced, have you lived up to your own tattoos of no regrets?
Oh, I love that you asked this question because it's something I am actively working through right now,
Hmm.
where I am trying to, I shouldn't say I'm trying. I am now being more gentle with my inner child
Hmm.
because I feel like I've been through some challenging initiations like in the past year where when I look back, I'm like, how did you not see that? How did you not know? I want to judge myself, right?
Sure.
So I'm working through the act of forgiving the past versions of myself that didn't know any better
Mm-hmm.
and needed to learn that lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Me too. Mm-hmm.
So it can be tough, right? Because it
Yeah.
hurts.
Yeah.
It can hurt
Yes.
to have
Well,
these hard lessons, but we're not here to be perfect.
no,
So
no, we are not. We are definitely not. No. That's that's sometimes a tough pill to swallow.
mhm.
That, right, the iteration of us today looking backwards, right, retroactively or respectively backwards to see, why did you do that? You did
Yeah,
it because you did,
that's the
right?
tools you had. That's
That's
that
right.
you didn't know any better. And there are even soul contracts we have with people or soul agreements
Mm.
where maybe something happened in a past life and we're meeting again
Hmm.
to um, come to some different conclusion, or perhaps you replay the same thing. Who knows? But there's just certain things we can't avoid. And
Oh,
there are things we can avoid as well when it just depends on our choices, really, you know? It's
yes.
both. Everything's both. That's what's
This and
yes, this and
yeah, it's I know that there are soul contracts in my life with people that are in my life that really push me, that really like get me going. And I
mhm.
know they are there to teach me to see myself. I know everything is a mirror. I believe that we are all mirrors of one another. And if something drives me crazy about you, it's because I do it myself or I see myself in you. Um, yes, I do agree that we have choices and we get to experience this, and maybe we'll make a choice that I hope this is what I have learned is, okay, I might make the same choice again, but I will feel guilty faster for doing
Yeah.
it. I will recognize it quicker.
Yes.
And now I also ask for forgiveness. And before I was so stubborn, I refused to ask for forgiveness. And now I'm apologizing. I'm owning up left and right for my mistakes today. And that's growth. That is growth.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. And it's funny. It's like we're just constantly peeling back these layers. And I have to say, I've had a friend who did a reading for me and she said, there's this box of your mom's stuff in your
Mm.
house that you don't need anymore. Oh my gosh, this is like this is
Mm.
totally coming up because of what you're into. This is so interesting. She's like, there's this box of stuff in your house, and whatever you don't need, burn it, right? So
Mm.
it was just a bunch of paperwork that was sitting up in a closet that I was holding on to in case I needed, but
Sure.
enough time had passed, I could get rid of it, right? So I went through it. That was challenging, but also healing in a
Mm.
way and nice. It was all of it.
Mhm.
And then I burnt these papers, and that literally catapulted me. And I actually saw myself blazing through a soul contract.
Mm.
There was actually like a lesson that I didn't have to go through after I
Wow.
did.
Wow.
So isn't that wild? Like it's
Yes. Yes.
pretty wild. And there
Mm.
comes back to your point of like we're not here to do it all alone because
No.
I wouldn't have done that on my own without my friend
Doing a
saying,
reading.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I want to loop that back to you and your Akashic readings now. How, because I asked you because I'm like I told you, I'm starting to attract all kinds of people from all over the world now that are into Akashic records and the work. And I would love for you to, I know we're going over time here, so we'll make it quick, but tell me, or tell us please, how you want to help others by doing Akashic record readings for them.
Well, the Akashic records essentially bring through guidance that is super loving and very simple. And
Mm,
so it helps us get out of our head and into the heart,
love that.
and really brings forth guidance that can help us kind of get to the bottom of what the issue is,
Mm.
and help us gain clarity. So yeah,
Quickly,
that's
quicker than what we would normally like go through it ourselves. Like if we're just like
right.
trudging through our
And
day.
that being said, you have to be open to hear what's being said as well, right? Like, I mean, you can take it or leave it. It's up to
Yeah.
you.
But it is each person's individual life past, maybe future that you're looking at when you're going into their records. Is that right?
Yeah, when the way it works for me, and it works different for everybody who does it, is that I access whatever is needed for the person's highest good. A lot of times I end up speaking with their guides. Sometimes I see past lives, and then sometimes I end up doing healing or sort of like shamanic work with them as well. So it's just whatever the soul needs, whatever the soul is open to, and that's what comes through, and I'm just the vessel that
Mm,
brings that through.
mm. I love that. It's powerful. It's powerful work. It's I'm happy that you are offering it because I know that you have, this is something new for you that you're wanting now to offer out in the world. So thank you for doing that because there are people that need your help and guidance. I'm going to ask you one last question, and that is if you have anything else that's on your heart that you would like to share with whomever is listening today, because I know if you say it, somebody needs to hear it. Is there anything that you'd like to share?
Um, I feel like the message that keeps coming through is you can do hard things
Mm,
and you can keep your heart flame ignited. Like, keep that, tune into your heart and that heart flame, and tune into that heart flame of the world right now.
mhm.
And if you have the resources to send some of that love to that flame of the world, um, it is much appreciated.
Mm, yes. Gosh. Thank you for saying that. It is, we don't want to be tone deaf for sure. Sometimes we do get stuck in our, well, in my home, in my house, in my friendship circle, and our friendship circle is far and wide, far and wide. And we've got sisters and brothers all over the world that need love and peace right now. And if, like you said, if you've got it in you, please share some of that. Please share it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for those beautiful words. Thank you for being my guest today. Thank you for coming into my life, into my sphere. And I look forward to following along on your journey and seeing how I can support you in the future.
Thank you so much, Asa. You're such a beautiful
Thank
soul.
you. Thank you. Oh my gosh. You see, like attracts like. Thank you. Thank you so much, Wendy. You take good care of yourself and have a beautiful weekend.
You too.
Thank you.